My full name is Tofiga Fepulea'i. My first name, Tofiga. I am named after my dad's mum. And my dad comes from the villages of Fusi Safokulafai, Saleaula and Savai. My mum, her name is Malai. She comes from the villages of Sangonge, Papasakawa, Falealupo, and Fasko Uka. Okay? So, but really my mum and my dad, they were both pretty much raised in the beautiful island of Savai. Upolu was just another island, but not really part of Samoa. So if anyone's here from Upolu, anyone here from Upolu? God bless you. I was born in Wellington back in 97. I was born in Wellington. I'm born and bred Wellingtonian. I'm an only child. But I was raised with a lot of family around me. My mum and dad, they met here in New Zealand, back in Wellington. They used to work at a place called Todd Ford to make cars. My mum used to paint the doors of the cars. And my dad used to stick on the doors of the cars. So if you can imagine, it was like a love story. My mum would be painting the car. My dad would be sticking the doors. And then they got married at a little church there. One of the first Pacific Island churches in Wellington was the PIPC in Newtown. And also called the Nokise House. Before my parents got married, they made a very important decision. They bought a house for $9,000. Wow! And the reason why I say it's a very important decision that they made, I will explain, and you will realize after, as I go on about my story, why it's important, the decisions that you make today, because of the outcomes that it will be tomorrow. So my parents bought this house, and then, us islanders, we love to try and save money, and we try and not use as many resources so that, we can save money for other things, for family, for church. So mum and dad, it was winter. I hardly used the heater. 9 months later, I was born. I was born in a 3-bedroom house. The house that my parents bought. During the time that I was growing up, my mum thought, she came to New Zealand to work, to send money back home to look after her parents. My mum was the youngest of 11. She was the first one to come from her family. So imagine someone leaving everything that they know to go to a place where they know nothing about. But they sacrifice all that out of their comfort zone to come and work for their family back home. It's a massive sacrifice. My dad did the same thing. He was the oldest in his family. He also came to Wellington. And it's funny because my dad, even today, he has very minimal English. You know Uncle Sam? Even he has more English than my dad. And that's truth, honest. Those who know my parents, my dad is very limited in English. But you see, even though my dad, all he could say was good morning. And when people used to come to the door, my dad would say, no, he don't live here anymore. Even though my dad had that much English, my dad was still able to work 2 jobs. And when I think about it growing up, my dad never underestimated what he had. And the one thing that my parents had was willpower. They believed in themselves. They had something that they came here to do, and they did it. Because what happened was my family, my mum brought her brother over. Then my dad brought his brother over. And we were in this 3-bedroom house. And then my mum thought, okay. She brought her other brother over. And then my dad thought, okay. He brought his brother over. It got to a stage where my uncles got married off. They all got married. But we still lived in that one house. They had children, and we were still in that one house. There was 25 of us in a 3-bedroom house. Sometimes we had to sleep standing up. But you know, it's a funny thing because some people say, oh, that's very unhygienic to have so many people staying in one house like that. But from the bottom of my heart, I would never have changed the way that I was brought up in that 3-bedroom house. I learned how to share. I learned how to hide and eat the food. As you can see. But I loved the way I was. I never ever felt like I was an only child. All my first cousins, they were all like my brothers and sisters to me. So I was brought up in a little suburb there called Brownpoa. And then we moved on. I went to intermediate called South Wellington Intermediate. And then my parents bought a new house. We sold the house in Brownpoa and moved to Lyle Bay, where the beach is. And that's where I learned how to surf. The net. So we lived in Lyle Bay, got older. I attended a college called Rongotai Boys College, also called the Coot Street Academy. And only the elite athletes didn't go to that school. So I went to a beautiful college, and I went to college, and I guess, like, you know, us as teenagers, when we start to grow up, we start to, you know, because when we're young, we hold on to our parents' hands, and we're always dependent on our parents. Mom, Dad, can I have this, please? Mom, Dad, can you, please? But then we get to a stage where it's like, oh, don't touch me, Mom. Dad, no, stay back. You know, we start to get independent, and then we start to, you know, hey, what's up, bud? And that was me. You know, as I grew up in college, I started to think I was the man. You know, when played rugby and stuff, and, you know, I was unbelievable. And, you know, and what happened when I started to make friends, and we used to do school C. Hands up those who used to do school C back in the days. Anyone here? Come on, you liar back there. We used to do school C, but now you guys do that WWE thing. NPA, whatever it is, NCCC. I used to do school C. And the thing within our family and in our church community, if you got school C, it was like you got a gold medal in the Olympics. Because your parents want to be proud of you. And I remember I went to school C, and then I was invited to come back and sit school C the next year. Because I was one of the elite. I was the elite. And I was very fortunate to be asked the 3rd time. But I said, no, please, give it to somebody else. No, please. Please. This is my 21st this year. Please, give it to somebody. In school, I made a lot of friends. But I didn't make a lot of passing in exams. The only thing I passed in school was the rugby pool. So I left school, and then from school, after school, it was like, so what do I do with my life? Remember, I'm an only child. My uncles are all married off now. So it's just me, Mom, and Dad. Mom and Dad don't stay young. They get older. So how was a guy like me supposed to look after my mom and dad with no job? This is when life for me started to get serious. I was on the dole for 5 years. 5 years I thought that $120 was the money. I fought $120. Whoa! You can't touch me. I got $120. I was rich. 5 years. I would sleep at 3 in the morning and wake up at 5 in the evening. That was my life. My parents, they loved me so much, all they wanted was as long as their son was at home. I get older. My parents finish work. How am I supposed to look after my parents? That's when I started to try and get a job. I worked on a rubbish truck. Had to get up at 4 in the morning. But that's when I'm usually asleep. I worked at rubbish truck for a bit. Then I started pumping petrol. Worked at a gas station. And then after working at a gas station, I started working on the doors. Thought I was a bouncer. Then after working on the doors, I went and worked at a place called Quit Line, Quit Smoking. I went from job to job. I even tried to do a sales rep thing. I only lasted like about 20 minutes. I turned up to this office. They said, we will take anybody and we will teach you how to do this job and you will make money. I turned up in my suit. They said you had to come nicely dressed. So I turned up in my white Sunday suit and Converse. And they said, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to give you some products and we want you to go out and knock on every single door and try to sell these umbrellas. That's when I said, I quit. Not because of the umbrellas, but because of walking. So I tried a whole bunch of different jobs. When I worked at Quit Line, that's when life for me really, really was deep. Because my parents weren't working anymore. And what happened was I started to think, what's happening with my life is a total waste of what my parents came to New Zealand for. I was failing my parents because they sacrificed everything to come here, and here I was mucking around. I can speak English. I know the law of the land. I know a lot of things my parents don't know. But my parents came with that much English, and they worked, bought a house, got us a car, put me to school, fed me, brought their family here. And here was a young New Zealand-born Samoan who was a whiapoko, but felt like there was no purpose in life. What was I going to do? Work 9 to 5 all the time? I felt like I had no purpose. It was nice talking to people who wanted to quit smoking, but they're not going to look after my parents. I'm going to look after my parents. And then that's when it really hit me, that I had to do something with my life. I had to really, I guess you could say, I had to come back to where I started, and that was in the church. I had to remember all the basic things that I grew up with. Oina whaia oe, o le atua. Oina whaaola, o Yesu. Oina tale papa, I don't know. O Mosi. And the reason why I had to go back to the basics, because I got too big for my shoes. I needed God to remind me what life is really about. I needed God to remind me that He had given me, not just me, every one of us, gifts. And you know the old saying, you don't use it, you lose it. And so while I was working at Quit Line, I rang up my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I had heaps of girlfriend. Oh, really? So, please, can you just stay going out with me, please? I will pay you. I will pay you. $120 a week. You can't touch me. So I rang up my wife and I said, hon, you know, ever since I was a kid, a lot of people used to say, man, you should go and take your stuff on a stage. You should go out there and, you know, just try it. Give it a go. Do a bit of comedy. Because I always did it when I was a kid in the church. I didn't go to no New Zealand drama school. I didn't go to no special classes. Where I learned all that stuff was on the stage in church. My drama school was White Sunday, every Sunday in Sunday school. You imagine, you can go to all the training you want, but when you are stuck there in the middle of the stage and your mum is at the back, you are going to act like Kevin Costner. You will act like a Mel Gibson. So that's what I was brought up on. And that's what I was reminded. Everything of when I was working at Quitline. So the only person I knew that was in the industry was Ete. Ete, what's Ete? And Ete has known me since I was born. Ete was one of the first Pacific Islanders to graduate from New Zealand Drama School. So I rang him up and I said, Uso, from Molia, if you can give me one chance, even if it's 1 minute, to just jump out on stage in one of your shows, that's all I want to do. I just want to have a taste. I want to give it a go. I got nothing else. Ete had a show back in 2003. It was called Laughing with Samoans. Ete said to me, Keba, give you some, come MC, have a bit of a go. So I did. And I remember going out on that show, I was never been nervous ever in my life, except for that one time. People were paying money to come and see us do a show. And I stood out there, spotlight, couldn't see anyone's face. And all I remember is cracking the first joke. And then I heard this laughter. When I heard that laughter, that's when, for me, it felt like time had froze. Because I really believed that's when God was saying to me, this is your calling, Tofiga. My 5 minutes ended up being 20 minutes. A whole bunch of stuff came out of my head. I loved the laughter. I loved hearing people enjoying themselves. Then I went back off, Ete came on. And then I was asked to come back on another 5 minutes, and I went on for another half hour. People would have thought, man, is this Tofiga show? Who's the other guy? Man? But you see, once again, another brother gave me an opportunity. And that's, these are the things that I've learned in life. And as I grew up, one thing I always did that my dad said to me was respect everyone. Respect everyone. And if you call yourself a Samoan, number one rule in Samoa, whaloalo. Never ever forget that. That's what my dad always said to me. That's why I respect the person that may walk past me on the bus. A person I may only meet for a minute in a restaurant while I'm ordering a salad. And the reason why it's important to respect people is because in life, if you are doing well, and you are respecting those people and treating them well, when you fall, those are the same people you're going to meet. And they will help you to get back up the ladder. But if you don't respect and you become a real fiapoko, do you think someone's going to put out their hand and stop you from falling? I don't think so. Simple things I learned in my life through simple teachings that my parents taught me. Not only teachings that I got from Samoa, but mostly teachings from the Bible. I will never, ever be afraid to say that I love Jesus. When I have family, all of us have been there. When they want to go and party and they want to go clubbing, they say, bro, let's go. Let's go. There's a party down at the... But as Christians, do you ever hear them say, hey, there's a massive rally down there, let's go. Let's go. It's because sometimes we get a bit ashamed. Don't be ashamed of who created you. I am not a perfect Christian. I tell you that my family know that. It's like the old saying, they say, if I was to sleep in the garage, it doesn't turn me into a car. Huh? Just because we go to church, it doesn't make us Christians. But if there's ever a time now that we have to stick together, we can hear it on the radio. We read it in the paper. We see it on the news. Our families, they're messed up. It's because we're forgetting where we started from. My son, I never thought there would be a time where I would be taking my son in the morning to go to Sunday school. You know, and it's amazing where God has taken me in my life. And the one thing I also want to share tonight is just, please make the best of whatever opportunity that you get. Whatever opportunity that you have. You young people, you have heaps of opportunities falling at your feet. And when you get older, trust me, us, my generation and older than me, they will testify to this, that opportunities don't come as easy as you get older. Make the best of the opportunities that you get. I had no school C. I had no UE, no PMC. I had none of that stuff. But the one thing that I did have is I had parents that prayed for me every single day. You know, people know me as a laughing Samoan. But I'm a human as well. Every time I talk about my parents, I cry. Because my parents sacrificed everything for me. Only if us young ones could know and realize and understand what our parents have gone through, what their parents have gone through to get what we have now. Come on. Don't waste the opportunities. Never underestimate what you have. All I can do is make people laugh. But look at what my God has done for me through the gifts that He has blessed me, that I've done for my family, for my parents. You know, my parents are happy now. And I believe my parents, if your parents are happy, they live longer. Honest. And I stand here before you tonight, not just to make you laugh, but just to make you realize and just sit up and think about life. Too many of us have had cousins, family members who have taken their lives, cut short. But yet we are given the opportunity to live another day. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. The theme of tonight is, does God have a sense of humor? Now I talk about the theme. Right at the end. And God does have a sense of humor. You know, it says in His word that laughter is good for the soul. And my dad always wanted me to become a minister when I was a kid. Because my dad comes from a whole line of deacons and laid preachers and ministers. But you know, my dad has seen me do what I do now. My dad said to me, I got my dad's blessing. He said, son, in Samoan, because his English is... He said, son, I love you. Because you are using what God has given you. And I may not be preaching in the normal way that we preach, that we see our ministers and our pastors preach, but I am using my gifts in a way and where I am spreading the gospel. I'm not a doctor like a doctor with a certificate thing and the thing where you hit. But if laughter is good for the soul, then I am a doctor in that sense. So I just want to leave you by saying that God loves you. Whatever difficulties and stuff that you go through life, we all go through a lot of hard times. But like I said, please do not underestimate what you have. Do not underestimate what your gifts are. If I can sing for you just a little gospel song, but I won't tonight. I'm going to sing for you a song, a Negro spiritual song that a church, a Whakasa church in San Diego sang for us when they came back in 1990 at our church. And it's a song that sums up my life. And when you hear the words, I'm sure we can all relate to it.